The area I'm standing right now encompasses 4 different jurisdictions. The one right across there is a sewage district, and they pretty much are their own government unto themselves in some cases when it comes to the lands that they oversee. Across there, it's 8-10 acres of just open area. The sewage district really doesn't want too many plantings of trees along the edges. They'll determine what that is, because I think if they've got to work on it, they don't want to have to take those down. However, this field here was planted about 8 years ago with a pretty generic crap mix. So there's 5-6 dominant species that you will find in the native species, but primarily I would say the majority of it is invasive junk. Nobody's really done much with it since they first seeded it. They do mow it down every year, and they have been spraying it for teasel and some other types of weeds, so it's not that bad in regards to the really nasty herbaceous. I guess that's a matter of subjective. There's some people consider them all nasty, but they could have huge potential. There's nobody doing anything in there, and that this district here would be open to something. You just have to have the money and the people to do so. And you go down, there's some apartment buildings, but then you go down right to that point, and you go down about a 1.5 miles. That's a city park, suburban city park, and they have their own rules and jurisdictional issues. That's a fiefdom for the most part. You try to communicate with those folks, and they'll shut you down. Unfortunately, the only thing that's ever been done in those natural areas along the river stretch upstream for that city has been done by volunteers. I mean, occasionally they've gone in there and sprayed for some things, and that's about it. They concentrate more on the recreational areas, and they claim, well, we don't have the resources, we don't have the whatever. They don't have anything. They're not going to do anything. And they also claim that it's too much for the volunteers to handle beyond the scope of it. If you contact them, they'll pretty much ignore you. It's unfortunate, because a 1.5 mile stretch of the river is by that city, and if they're going to say, no, we can't do anything, we don't want to do anything, and we're not going to do anything, what it comes down to is, like, there's 2 sections along the riparian stretch of that city. One was expanded about 8 years ago, and that has a lot of potential, and there's really not much recreational. The other side is fully recreational. It's been somewhat cleaned up to a certain point. It's not completely horrible. However, the stretch that they expanded is basically a refuge and a breeding ground for every nasty thing imaginable. And they don't care if you say, can we come in there and do things? They won't let you do it. Then they're not going to do it. So it's real frustrating with them. Now on this section here, this is a real nasty stretch this is county jurisdiction. And this is a particular nasty stretch. From this point down, we're, again, another 1.5 miles on this side. On the 1.5 miles, I'd say half of it, and maybe not quite half, has been somewhat addressed for invasive species and is getting under management, and probably within the next year or two, 90% of it should be at a management level, and there's some other developments that could be positive there. But it is real nasty right here. Right there, there's some nice native plants along the edges, but if you go into these woods and into there's really not going to be a whole lot that you're going to find, except buckthorn and some nasty, some honeysuckle. Primarily it's a buckthorn forest. And so upstream here, there's some developments. I believe that the sewage district they'll be open to discussions, and if you could show them that you're serious and you have some financing and you have some manpower, they'd give it a test run, and they'd expand it in the future if it was positive. The city, on this hand, is a complete waste of time. They're just, I don't know what to say about them. I've been living here for quite a while, and just the complete lack of communication that they offer for anybody, if you're serious, is very baffling. It's also offensive to me. But going downstream of this river, it's around the bend, you can't see it, but we're probably talking another 1/4 mile. That's another city. So that's the 4th jurisdiction right here. Now that city is, like, they've determined long ago that they aren't going to do anything in these areas, and if other people are going to do them, they look at it as a plus. All really required there is some kind of communication and some kind of understanding that you're doing things and that you're cooperative and that you're making progress, and they'll leave you alone. They'll let you plant stuff there, remove invasive species. That stretch is coming along. It's just been done very leisurely by some volunteers that live in the area across the street from that stretch. However, this over here is a whole different story. Now this is another one too. This is the county jurisdiction that goes down 1.5 miles upstream here, and they haven't come to the conclusion, they haven't accepted the fact that they're not going to do anything and they can't do anything. They might have accepted it, but they don't want any of the volunteers to do much either. So they're not real supportive, but they will let you come in here and clean out some of the invasive species. But the main thing with all these jurisdictions is like what you do want is permission to first address the native structure to protect it, and the primary one is getting rid of all the invasive species that you could possibly, primarily the woodies and some of the real culprits. Dame's rocket and garlic mustard are the two most prevalent around here, even though there's quite a few other herbaceous ones. So they will let you do certain things like that, but you just want to be given permission and then go at it and mind your own business. The more with a lot of these jurisdictions, the more you talk to them, it's like the less you're going to be able to do. And the more you talk to them, it's quite likely, depending how far you push and how much you want to accomplish, that they just close the door on you. That's the reality. It's like every jurisdiction is different, every municipality is different, but around here, as I found that the more you talk to these folks, the more you try to push to get things done, the less that you are going to be able to do. It's unfortunate, but that's just the reality.